Hey, welcome back again. All right, so the other video, I finished up the TK1 rear sway bar, so that's all set. And then since then, I've been tackling the actual rear bumps and rear limit straps. The limit straps I had on there, I did wrong. I set them up initially with the axle equally 100% droop. Full droop equal, full bump equal is slightly different than real life droop flex, droop and bump, droop and bump. So when I was actually flexing the truck, the limit straps were actually not limiting the shocks while flexing. And I knew that, and I knew I had to get to it. So I want to get the sway bar tackled first. That's done. And now I have tackled the limit straps and bump stops. All right, initially I had some TMR 20-inch straps. And those are what, like I said, seemed to be correct with the axle 100% full droop equally. And like I said, it was not limiting me while actually flexing like so. So after doing some measuring, I moved to a 18-inch limit strap and had to cut off and re-weld my TMR adjustable blocks. So I had to order a set of those. Got those welded where they need to be now. So now with an 18-inch strap, I am on my loosest setting on my TMR turnbuckle thing here. So again, everything's supposed to stretch. Limit straps are supposed to stretch 1 inch per 12 inches. So after this thing stretches out, the 1 3/8 or whatever it is, supposedly, I'll have plenty of room to tighten that strap back up. So that's the same on both sides. Same situation. And then you'll see at full bump, I got plenty of room. There's no contact. All right, so now let's talk about the bump stops here. So I did have bump stops on this truck shortly after I got it up and running. I had them mounted on the inside of the frame. Kind of see where it's all jagged. And then I had these bump pads. Well, everything looked good initially. When you full bump it out like this, actual flex, they worked great. But then when the truck was on ride height, the bumps were basically sitting already on the pads. And these are only 2.5-inch stroke bump stops. And I have like 5 inches of up travel. So that wasn't gonna work. So the problem is that I didn't think about the truss already being so tall. So that's already taking up X amount of travel. That, and I've learned with everything I've been doing here, is that you got to keep everything as in line with the actual coilover itself for everything to work. So I haven't had bumps for a minute. Now I do. So these are Fox 2.0 2.5-inch stroke bumps, air bumps. And I got the cans, just generic cans from Poly Performance. I use some leftover 2x3-inch eighth wall rectangular tubing that I use on my tire carrier. Cut it at an angle so it kind of simulates the shock angle. And then to make a pad, I took some 2x2 square tubing quarter wall and made these standoffs with a 1/4-inch plate on top. I know it looks a little weird. I know now that why most people will run the coilovers on the back side of the axle tube at an angle. That way you have on top of your axle tube plenty of room for bump stops. So it's about the same deal, just reverse rolls. So it's going to work out. Here's the other side showing full droop. So right now the limit straps at the loosest setting before any of the stretch, I'm 15 3/4 inch shaft. So I'm limiting the shock by a 1/4 inch currently, which is totally fine. And you'll see these are not charged right now. So at full droop, you can see the space between everything. Another look at the standoffs. Again, they look kind of crazy. They're not your normal traditional setup, but if it works, it works. All right, so passenger side full bump is set up. Bumps are nice and square on the pad. I got about 3/16 of an inch before the shock bottoms out, but then there's also a 1/4 inch rubber stopper. So I got plenty of protection as far as bumping out the shock. Passenger side. Driver side, I pulled out the 20-inch limit straps and put in some 18s. Right now I'm extended 15 5/8. Once the straps stretch how they're supposed to, basically it's an inch. It's supposed to stretch an inch per every 12 inches. So these should stretch an inch in, what, 3/8 or something? So then as this stretches, I'll gain closer to my 16, but I'll still probably bump it out or limit it to, I don't know, 15 7/8 max droop. Here is simulated ride height with 5 inches of shaft showing. Where before I was actually already riding on, I was touching in contact by 3/16 of an inch on the bumps. So this is way better. So I'm going to have my distance plus my stroke, and the bump will still stop the axle at full bump before the shock. So everything's protected at flex and at full bump, which with a truck like this should be very rare that I would ever bottom out the rear completely. It's not a desert truck. I'm not jumping it, but everything's protected. All right, here is full bump, 100% the whole axle. Shock is way more than protected. Have about 1.5 inches of travel saved on the bump pad. And same deal on this side. You also notice that at full bump as well as flex earlier in the video, I got plenty of room between my limit strap buckles hitting, and as I adjust the TMR adjustable, it's only going to go higher yet anyway. So very happy with this. All right, so now I'm just double checking that I am bumped out, not only protecting the shock travel, but that I'm also stopping the tire from hitting any of the sheet metal. And I am good, 1/4 inch. So now I will do the same on the other side. Plenty of clearance, nothing's touching, nothing's rubbing, everything's looking very good. All right, here's the passenger side. So I already had this in my mind. This tire is brand new. So it's got another 1/8 inch more tread on it than the other tire. So this one is very close. So I will limit this side another 1/8 inch or so, just to be for sure. But again, everything is tightly packed. Everything is square. Everything's working together at the same angles as the shock, coilover. Plenty of gap between my limit strap stuff. And you can see the arm of the sway bar. Couldn't be any tighter than what it is. Very happy with it. All right, I gave myself a little bit more room. So now I got plenty of space here from hitting the fender. And I'll do the same on the other side. I'm not gonna video that side. Basically, I'm just gonna compensate. There's a little rubber O-ring that I'm sure compresses just a tad. So I'm just gonna give myself a little extra bump and be good to go.